You did. So how far were you able to go with the assignment?
So the remaining weeks that I've not been active in class, I've not done any
So that means you've not been your the assignments and the classes, I believe you've not seen them from almost 3 weeks till date. Okay. mm, I'm just going to do a brief recap of our last class of JavaScript. That's basically what I'm going to do for now, and then move to data types. So basically, in the last class, what we talked about is JavaScript as a scripting language. So I said that just the same way we have index.html, index.css, or um, whatever .css. .css is the extension, just like .html is the extension. We also have an extension of .js that tells the browser, the system, or the computer what type of file you're giving it, so that it will be able to run that file with a specific kind of server. Do you understand? Just the same way, are you in this class?
yes.
Alright. Just the same way we have pictures that have extensions, we have files .txt, we have dot png for images, we have html, xvg or something for different files, document doc for different files. We also have .js for extensions of JavaScript. And if you want to add .css or an external css file to your html document, so that you'll be able to run the um, what is it called, the css program with the file, just like we have here. For example, this is .css, and if we want to add this extension to our html, we use what we call link. You remember, right? Yes. The link tag is where we add this, just like we added it here, this link tag, and we add our href of index.css rather. This is how we add an external file of css to our html file. But in JavaScript, it's a bit different. In this case, instead of adding it using a link tag in our head tag, we add it in the body tag. We don't add it using a link. We don't add it in the head tag. We add it, yes, we add it using a script, but it's inside of the body tag, and it will be the very, very last thing before any of the files we're running. By the last thing, I mean it will be the last thing inside of this body. So if I want to write a bunch of code, anything that I write inside this file, whatever it is, this thing must come last. That is the rule when you're working with JavaScript, JS. So you add it using a script tag. Script tag is just like we've talked about tags and elements. HTML tags, HTML elements. It's just like script. Script is a tag, script element, right? So you type in script, and then you add the source, which is your index.js file, which is exactly how you add it. So this is a way of linking this file, this external JS file, to our HTML file. That is basically it. And then in the last class, I also said that there are things that we consider in JavaScript. Just like you can type in your, let me run this code first. Okay, so this is what we have. Just like you have your normal HTML files, right? That if you want to do
Yes.
something, you just write it straight. JavaScript does not work like that. JavaScript has rules. There are ways of doing something. It's more like, for you to be able to do something, you have to create a space for it. That's what that's where variables come in. JavaScript variables. And I said that variables are basically like containers. Just like you have this normal container, you give it a class name. In this case, these class names are not like that. They are like variable names. Anything you want to name it is okay. But in this case, you name it using three keywords. You either use var, let, or const. These are the three words you use to create variables in JavaScript. No other ones. You cannot come out and say, okay, I want to create the name, I want to create a variable, and you say, probably the name of the variable you want to create is the name of your school, and you say, my school, for example. My school. You can't do this. This is wrong. This has not been declared anywhere. So this is wrong. You have to either say var, my school, or let, my school, or const, my school. And once you do that, for const, I said you must initialize it. Initializing it means giving it a variable, giving it a value. Let me break down that English because I know that is big. What I mean by variable declaration and variable initialization are these. Variable declaration is when you get a container. Okay, in the last class I used an example when I was with Clinton. I told him that if you go to a movie theater with your friend and you guys buy a ticket or buy tickets for two seats, he's sitting on his own or you are sitting on your own chair and your friend hasn't come in yet, that seat has been bought. Nobody else can use it. Do you understand? That ticket your friend has that has been bought is it's his right to that seat, and no other person in that hall will have the right to that seat because he has the ticket number that matches that particular seat. Do you get me? That is how variable declaration works. So if I say I want the name of this variable to be age, there's no other place I'm going to use age again, because it's just like I've bought the name, the variable name age, and that is declaration. Then initialization happens when your friend now comes in and sits down in that seat. It has been initialized because he is now the value inside of the seat. The seat is like the container and he is one inside of the seat. It's just like you get an empty container. It's been initialized and you name the bucket probably a fancy name, bucket or anything. But when you add water into it, or when you add sand, or when you add stone, that is the value you are giving to that particular bucket. The bucket now is the carrier, the container, the variable name, and then the let me see. Okay. The variable is the container, and the stone, sand, or water inside of it is the value. So if you look at here, we declared name of student, but we did not give it a value. This is declaration, and declaration can only happen with var and let. Those ones are flexible. You can reuse their name somewhere else. You can change their value easily. By reusing their name, I mean this age now. If you look down here, this is where I initialized it. I've given it a value. This is your friend coming to sit down in the chair named age, or in the container named age, and then I'm giving it a value of 30. I can decide I no longer want your friend to be there. If I'm the owner of the organization, I'll take his ticket from him and give it to somebody else and say I want 45 to be there, no longer 30, or I want somebody else to be there, no longer 30. 1 minute. Esi ego m ya n'okporoko. Biko tinye m ya inside the okporoko. Ọ bụrụ ndị nke enwe ndị dị n'ime nke nchọ use wee si nri. Ndị nke a bụ ndị nkwupụtere ekwupụte from ofe ọzọ m ga-esi. Nke m chọrọ use bụ nke dị n'ite. Nke a ga-ede ede nnukwu. Ọ ikwupụta tizie ndị nke a tinye na ndị okporoko, ama m nọ ihe tinye n'okporoko. Just tiezie mmiri ka ncha sorozie na. Sorry, I'm back. All right. So, are you following so far?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I said invariable in JavaScript, when you want to create a value, you want to start writing your code, you make use of var, let, and const. Var and let will let you have variable declaration, which is you can buy the ticket without going to sit there immediately. But for const, you must come and sit down, else it will be taken away from you. That means it will throw an error. If I say const lecturer's name or names, yeah, and I don't do anything, it's already throwing an error. This red is already throwing an error. But if I change this thing now to this const to let, this error disappears. If I change it to var, the error is not there. But once I change it back to const is it means constant. It's short form for constant. Var means variable. So the only time this thing will stop being wrong is if I initialize it. Initializing means give it a value. The name of the value will now be, probably the lecturer's name is Tina. This becomes the value inside of this lecturer's name, or inside of this variable called lecturer's name. Do you get? Is that clear enough? So the next thing that we talked about in the last class is, if you notice, there is a naming convention. This is called camel case method of naming things in JavaScript. The first word, if you have multiple words, just like I said, let lecturer's name, lecturers, or name of occupation of lecturer. This thing is wrong. You can't use this. This is not acceptable as a name. Let me say I do this and I do this. This is also wrong because this is a symbol. Is a minor symbol, and this one is also a minor symbol. The only thing that can be acceptable is this. Not this, I mean is this one, and this one, and then give it a name. So here the first, these are a combination of words. Occupation of lecturer. Lecturer is a teacher, or he's a lecturer. Anyone. What am I? Teacher. So occupation of lecturer is teaching or teacher. Teaching, not teaching. So he is a teacher or he teaches. This is one word, occupation. Of is another word. Lecturer is another word. But if you notice, there's something that happens. This one starts with a small letter. The first word starts with a small letter. Same as name, same as state, same as number, same as where else? Okay, there's no other place. State of origin, state. So the first words start with a capital letter, but the other words that come after it, the first letter of that word will be capital letter, then the other letters will be small letter. Just like this of is capital letter O with a small f, lecturer has capital L, and others are small letters. That's what happens with when you naming conventions in JavaScript. Is that clear? So
Yes.
and I said,
But I noticed that
mm,
you are, if you are writing on it, on this number 27 to 9,
mm,
there is a there's a light on it. Why?
no, this thing is from my, is it's from my end. It does not mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Have you seen it? There's nothing there. It doesn't mean anything. It's just like I've changed this document by writing a new thing inside. So it's an update. Okay. So another thing is this: when you are giving a variable name, you can start a variable name with capital letter, but it is not advised. It may not throw an error, but it is wrong. Let me put it this way: if I say let mm, amount of houses be equal to 15, this is not entirely wrong, but you started it with a capital letter, and variable names are not started with capital letters for you to be on the safe side. Do you get me? It's very important that the first word of a variable starts with small letter, and it's not a must that you write a very long name. If you want to probably add something, you can just say summation, and I say 5 plus 4. This is correct. I can say var what would be the name of brand is equal to, what's the name of the brand? Louis Vuitton, abi? Mhm. Whatever. So this can be written this way: it can be one word, it can be multiple words. But if you have, the reason why we use multiple words is to make your work as descriptive as possible, so that if anybody looks at your code, if you look at this code now, you will know that this variable is housing the name of a student. So you are expecting to see a string there. By string I mean this is a string. This is Jane, and it is housed by quotation marks. It can be single quotes or double quotes. It can be single quotes or double quotes. Yes. So this is it. This is a string. So is this one as well. So is this one. So is this. But those are data types that I'm going to come to later on. That was what we're supposed to discuss today. So that's one. Then mm, I said a variable name can also begin with an underscore. By underscore, this is what we mean. This symbol here. You know this symbol is not the same as minus. They are two different symbols. Let me show you. Let underscore and minus. Minus is up, which is shorter. Underscore is down and longer. That's the difference between the two. You can't use minus when you're writing variable names, but you can make use of underscore. That's the difference. Just like we have underscore one occupation, you can use this. And another thing is numbers cannot start variable names. Just like we can say, just like we have Niger and we can give it Nigeria. You can, this is very wrong. Numbers can't start this. But if I say underscore, it becomes right because it has seen something that is acceptable first. So numbers can be inside the variable name, but it cannot be the first letter or the first thing in that variable name. Is it clear? Okay. So we've talked about variable declaration, variable initialization, and you're going to be wondering, what if I want to, just like you write some things inside of, there's something wrong with my code. What is okay? Something wrong with this code. Number 15. Okay, line 30. Plus. Alright. Okay. So if we go to HTML files and I write anything and I say 3 plus 5 is equal to 8, I see it here, right? But why is it that all of these things I'm writing, all these things I've written so far, I don't see it here? It's because JavaScript does not work the way HTML files work. JavaScript is can be displayed on our browser or our window or our document. This is a window. Now if I go back to this place, this is another window. This entire thing now is another window. If I go back here, this is another window. I go back here, another window. So all of these things are windows. So inside of a particular window, you now have your document. So how you show your JavaScript um files, the contents of those files, is by using document.write. Do you get me? And you write whatever it is you want to write within this brackets. That's how you write it. Or you console.log. And where do you see your console.log? Here. This is where you see what you have written in JavaScript. If you check, you're going to see index.js on line 23, index.js line 24. index.js line 25. And if you go back and check, you're going to see that I console logged occupation, console logged state, and I console logged state of origin. If I also console log Niger, not the console, let me write this console dot log, and I say I want to get the value of brand. I write brand. If I go back, you see that the value of brand is Louise. If I change the value of brand to say Louise Vuitton, hope this is the right spelling. This is what it becomes, because it is giving me the value of what is inside of this variable. This is just a variable name. It's giving me the value inside. The value inside of it is this. If I take out this thing now, it will not give me anything. But if you notice, there is something, it gives a line but it's giving you empty, but it tells you that there's something on line 36 index.js, but it gives you empty. Let me go back here and say log to the console, and I say I want you to log summation. Did you notice that there is a space here?
Yes.
This is a space showing you that there is nothing here. This is empty. This is an empty string, but it is still noted here because I console logged it, and I say I want you to show me the value, the thing inside of this string, and it's telling me, oh, there's nothing inside it though, it's empty. Do you understand? So after it comes this one, summation of this thing, and it's showing me the value of this summation, 15 plus 4 summation. It will give me the value, because 15 plus 4 is 19. So that is it. If I want some of these things to show, what I'm basically, if I want it to show in my browser here, I can say document dot write. I'm now going to say my name is
J.
it shows my name is Jane. And if you notice, it's joining this hello world we have here. It's joining together. So basically what I'm going to do is, just like we have in HTML break tags, I'll add a break tag here. Do you understand? Do you still remember what break tags are?
Yes.
What are they?
Yes. Any long word. Break tags are used when there are long words that you need to cut short. It's a break tag.
Okay, break tag just means go to the next line. If you want something to move to the next line, that's what break tag does. So it's to move this to the next line. So this is just like writing HTML inside of a JS file. What I would like to advise you is, in these JavaScript classes, any day you miss, you get very confused, because by the time you miss that class, and worst case, if you don't go through the video, you'll be very very confused. It's very very important that you come, even you know HTML, you can go and come back and still understand it after missing 2 classes. JavaScript is not like that. It is a lot more complex. This is a computer scripting language. So from here, if you understand it, you can write Python, you can write React, you can write PHP, Node.js, others. but you have to have a fundamental knowledge of JavaScript. If you miss your classes, I will not be going back like this, because now I'm supposed to be talking about data types, and you said you don't understand what was taught in the last class. That's why I'm going back. So you're supposed to be coming for your classes. Okay. So the next thing is, my name is Jane. But in a case where we already have the name of a student, let me change this to the student's name is the student's name is I don't want to use this name of student. I want to use this one here. Name of student is Jane here. I want you to write out Jane for me, or let me change this to Mercy. Mercy. So this is the one I want to show. Instead of writing this Mercy, just like we have console.log, I want you to give me the value, which is Mercy. So I can say name of student. So what am I supposed to have? The name of the student's name is Mercy, right? Did you get what just happened right now? No. Should I explain it again?
Yes.
If you're not following, if you missed something, ask questions. Don't be saying yes, yes, yes. Ask questions. Anywhere you're confused, if I say something, draw me back, say please, I don't understand what you just said. So what I said is this: variables, the reason why we use variables when we are as programmers, is because we don't always want to rewrite things. If you have to rewrite things over and over and over and over again, you will have very long lines of code. Imagine every time I want to write the name of a student, a particular student, I will say um Jane somewhere. This is supposed to be in a string. I'll say Jane. Probably I want to use this somewhere else. I'll say Jane. Or probably I don't even remember the name of the student I used probably 3,000 lines ago. Because you can write lines as long as 7,000 lines of code, 8,000 lines of code. Yes, when you start writing very serious big code, you can have very long lines of code. Or a line, or I might not even remember where I wrote the name of a student or the value I gave. I don't know whether it's Chukwuebuka, I don't know whether it's Michael, I don't know the name of the student again. What I can basically do is use the variable name. I know I stored it inside a variable called name of student. So anywhere I want to use that value inside, I'll just say name of student. Whatever is inside that place will be displayed. Be it Jane, be it Okereke, be it Okonkwo, be it Michael, Jordan, anybody, it will show. Do you understand? So if we check out this thing now, what I want to achieve is that this is supposed to be a variable name, abi, and this variable name here has a value of Mercy as its value. So I'm supposed to see the student's name is Mercy, right? Just like we have, if you console log this brand, it will not give you brand. Instead, it will give you what is inside of the brand, which is Louis, and Louis is shown. It will not give you 5 plus 14, or it will not give you summation. It will give you the value of the summation, which is 5 plus, it will give you 19. If you say Naija underscore Naija, it will give you Nigeria. So in this case, I want to use it, and it's supposed to give me Mercy, just like here. But if you go back and check, you're going to see the student's name is name of student. Why did that happen? Because of this icon here, or this symbol here, this quote has automatically changed this thing from being a variable name to an ordinary word. So right now, this thing is not a variable name anymore. It is a string. A string is just a word or group of letters or group of or a sentence inside of quotes. That's what a string is. String as an are identified when you see them inside of strings, inside of quotes rather. That's how you identify strings. So this thing now is a an ordinary word. It is no longer this, the name of student. It is no longer that. So if I want it to show me that mess, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one out of here. I will not write it inside of this quote. I'll write it outside of the quote. And I'm going to write it using a plus sign
Outside.
and this thing now. You see the difference between the colors.
Yes, change this color.
This color now means that this is a variable name. This one is a string. If you notice, all the strings have the same colors. All the strings, they have the same colors. Hello world is a string. University is a string. Mercy is a string. Enugu is a string. Just is a string. And this one is no longer a string because it is not inside of this quoting. But this is a string. So if I go back, I'll have Mercy now. Because I'm now getting the value inside of this. This is no longer a string. It is now the variable name of student Mercy. This is now the variable itself. Is that clear?
Yeah, like yes, but let me say after using this name, if there is any other name in here, okay, change it, bring it out.
Okay. If you have multiple names,
Yeah,
all you have to do is probably you have um 50 students and you want to write their names. You can write them one by one, but that one is bulky. That is where data types come in. Data types have what we call arrays. Arrays are like group of similar um, um, data types. For example, we have numbers. This is a number data type. This is a string data type like words. So we have another one that we call composite data types. Those ones include arrays, but it's technical. But in a case where, since we are not there yet, let me give you the lower version. In a case where you have probably 3 students, all you have to say is let name of students 2 be Michael. This is how you're going to do it. And if you want to see name of, or this one can now change to student names are name of students, which is, let me change this thing to name of student 1 and student 1 here and student 1 here, and name of student 2. This is wrong. It's giving me an error message. Okay. Name of student 1 and student 2. What's the name of this one? Name of student 2. Can you see it now? The student names are Michael and there's no space. Let me give this a space and here a space. Did you notice what happened? These things are joined together. Forget that all these spaces you are seeing. If you don't give this thing a space, if you notice there's a space here, if I take this space away, all these things will they are Mercy and this are joined together. So always note that in the strings there's supposed to be spaces. In these strings there's supposed to be spaces so that these words are not joined together. That's why JavaScript, you have to be very, very conscious of every little thing, else you have an error. And you have to go through them over and over and over again. It's not easy to just grab at a sitting or a get go. You have to go through them a million and one times. You have to go through them often. Go through videos online. You watch the videos multiple times. Go through them. Try out things on your own. Make mistakes. Have errors. That's how you learn. So now we have the names, the student names are Mercy and Michael. Did you notice that I had an error? And here I had to add a comma. If I remove this comma, this thing will become wrong. Because after adding this thing, this string ends here, and I added the name of a student, and I'm adding another string, it's an error. So for it to know that this thing is right, I have to use this, a comma, to separate them, because there's nothing here anymore. Or I can say, instead I'll now say plus, and it will still give me the same thing. Do you understand? If I don't use comma, I'll use plus, because this is like a full sentence, or like one word. I don't even know how I'm going to explain it to you. It's just like here now. Let me start from the beginning. Here that we had, when we did not have this, when we didn't have this part, command X, right? I had the student names are this. For you to be able to get the value of this one, you must use this is what we call concatenation. But I will explain it as we go on with the classes, probably in our next or second class. This is a way of joining two items together. This one is a string, and this one is a variable name, but I want the value of the name. Yes, this is what I get. The students' names are Mercy, and so for me to be able to, it's just like after writing this thing. Now I told you that there's no space. This space you're seeing is just an illusion. It's not really there. So anything I add again will give me an error, and this thing does not exist. So for me to be able to do that, I'll have to say plus, this is a string, plus this one, name of student, or I can say comma, comma, and we still have the same thing. Exactly. I believe it is, but it's better to use this one, a lot better. What's the time? It's already after 1.
Yes.
It's already after 1. So do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Let me go through them. If you have any questions, ask me. You don't. So what I want you to do is to simply go back to those 2 videos. Go through this one. Go through the other one. There's an assignment there already. Go through it. Do the assignment and do more. What I said you should do in the other assignment was, I think, to create variables, like, okay, declare variables, just like you declare 5 variables with each of these 5 variables, let 5 variables, const 5 variables, and then initialize them. By initialization, it means giving them value, just like we've initialized this student one with the name of Mercy. Initialize each of those variables that you create. You are at liberty to create any the name of the variable anyhow you want to create it. Whatever it is you want to use, create the name of the variable and then initialize it. First of all, declare it and then initialize it. And remember that I said that you cannot declare with const, you have to initialize immediately because constants are fixed, they are not flexible like var and let. So they do shakara. They don't want you to create them and leave them empty. You must put something inside for it to name, okay, yes, you are the one that owns this. If not, it would throw an error. So with constants, it must be initialized. You can declare and not initialize. Initialization means giving it a value. What is the value? The value can be a string, the value can be a number, just like we have here. It can be a boolean, it can be any other thing. There are so many, those ones are called data types. This is a data type. That's what we're supposed to talk about today. But I'll talk about it in our next class. Is that clear? Okay. All right. So that will be all for today. Have a nice day.